You're watching The Morning Show on CKWS.
.21 on a Wednesday. Welcome back. Please join me in welcoming Matt Lee. We're talking about home renos, specifically walls. Perhaps you're thinking of selling, you want to spruce up your property. Important things you need to know.
Yeah, so we'll talk about kind of what the extension of the renovation, if you're going to do a renovation, what's the extent of it? Because if you have an older home and it's something along the lines of lath and plaster, or is it something newer that's drywall you get into, there's different pieces to that whole puzzle that you're going to deal with, because you know, what kind of insulation did they use behind it before, and what are you going to do now, and is everything going to line up? Because nowadays we use drywall, and it looks nice, smooth, kind of a consistent wall look. You get into the old lath and plasters and there might be a bit of a wave to it, you know, or something, you know, that's not quite flush. So it just depends on if you're going to do the renovation, what's it going to cost, and how are you going to get there?
Some of the older homes, the danger of asbestos?
Yeah, so, you know, back in the day, asbestos was a good thing. You know, they used it because it was a good compounding agent. It stuck really well. Earlier, they used horsehair, they used asbestos, they used different things to mix the plaster that would stick to the lath, because they needed something really sticky so that it would stay up there. You get into the newer stuff in the 1970s, 1960s, where they used a concrete board. You might find asbestos. It depends on the guy that was mixing the plaster that day.
Wow.
So, you know, home inspectors will say, if you want to test it, I mean, you can definitely test it. It does take time. So it's one of those things that you should be aware of, that is a possibility. If it's in a hard board like that and you don't disturb it, it's fine. But if once you've broken it and it becomes exposed to the air, that's when it becomes an issue.
Okay, well, you've supplied some visual aids. Talk us through it here.
So this is an old lath and plaster wall. So you've got the lath pieces across the back, which are just strips of wood that they've nailed to a studded wall, which should be insulation in behind there. And what they usually do is just take a big bucket of plaster and they go over top. Back in the 1960s and 70s, they used this concrete board. It should be 2 feet tall and 4 feet long, and they screwed it to the studs just the way you saw the lath, and then they actually plastered over top of it. So if you see these kind of square looking frames in your house, that's kind of what it is. Green board is kind of like a concrete board, so they use a different type of drywall in behind bathrooms nowadays, because you can't use regular drywall, it will go moldy. So they use kind of a thicker concrete style board in a bathroom so that it does not collect moisture.
We're talking about a lot of different rooms in the house, not just, I was thinking like a living room, but you're talking about the bathrooms as well.
Yeah, so if you get into dealing with bathrooms, you want to make sure that there is going to be moisture, even though you have a window or a fan, but you want to make sure that you're using the proper materials in there so that that moisture has a chance to actually get out of the room and doesn't wick into anything and cause damage down the road.
How do you know that you might have an issue with mold, for instance?
Well, some of it's surface, you know, you'll see that. In a bathroom, if you have tiles and the tiles start to look funny, like if they look like they're kind of coming out a bit, if you push on that wall and it moves, you've got a problem. Yeah, I mean, it not move much, but I mean, if you can, like, it should be solid and it shouldn't move at all. But yeah, if it moves, it's probably moist in behind there, and it could be caused by a crack in the grout itself, and it's just been kind of a little drop here and there. But if you do it over years, so you want to make sure that you're looking at these. If you have a nice tiled shower, make sure that the grout lines look good, and continue on.
Stuff to keep in mind if you are looking for a property. We have some more pictures here, Matt.
Yeah. So this is the actual tile going on the green board. So they've actually taken the backing concrete plaster, you know, and they're going to stick the tile to it. So therefore, and they have these spacers that they're using in between to make sure that everything looks even. And then you've got what we're using today. So you've got, this is a nice big cathedral room, so you can see it, but it's all the joints are what you see for mudding, but it's drywall, and we're moving on. And then I thought I'd throw in 1970s paneling in case you wanted that.
It almost looks like the Tragically Hip Poets video.
Yeah, exactly.
The old wood paneling.
Yeah, exactly.
The house that's for sale now.
I recommend painting it if you don't want to take it down, but it, you know, if it's in a rec room, it looks a lot brighter if it's maybe a beige, white.
You don't think it's going to come back?
No.
The
No,
wood paneling?
I don't think so. I think it's done.
Not in our lifetime.
I think it's done.
Okay.
So,
Is it something that you recommend you hire a professional to do?
well, I mean, yeah, I think that it's very difficult to mud and tape, and it is your finished product. If you're having somebody come in and they're looking at your house and they see deficiencies in the wall, then all of a sudden they wonder what else has been home done by yourself, and it's one of these things that that is the finished product. I think that it's always nice to have it completely done perfectly.
Always excellent advice. Thank you so much, Matt Lee.
Real estate tips brought to you by Matt Lee of Royal LePage.